Hello, my name is Daniel and today I'm out cycling on the Outlaw full bike course. Reason being, in a handful of weeks I'm taking part in the event in a relay team. I have my friend Michelle on the swim, myself on the bike and my friend Paul on the run, and we are hoping to be competitive. We haven't got any major goals in terms of results, but we just want to try our hardest individually and see where that puts us as a team. Now for me that means I need to do what I need to do on this bike course, both physically but in also preparation. I'm not just turning up on the day having not ridden around it in the last couple of years. I'm quite local to the course and hoping for a good ride. I need to get out, recce the course, know the routes, know the corners, feel like I know where to push on and where to save energy so that I can deliver my best performance. I'm feeling the pressure, to be honest. Normally triathlon's an individual sport, but when it's a team sport, I'm feeling the pressure, but it's good pressure. I should do this sort of thing for every event that I do. Of course, it's not always possible, but that's the point today. So I've driven out to the North Loop, so the Outlaw full bike course, I'll put a thing on screen now. It's best described as you start at home pier point, you ride out, you do a south loop, a north loop, another south loop, and then back to home pier point. So you do the south loop twice, the north loop once. The north loop, for recceing purposes, is a bit busier than the south loop. The south loop's on like quiet country lanes, and the north loop's probably 50-50. So I've headed out relatively early in the morning, doing the north loop first, then I'm going to drive in between the loops because that middle bit can get quite busy later on during the day, and then do maybe one or two of the south loops depending on the weather and depending on how I feel. So I'm just going to play it by ear, but at least do one loop of each. Now I have just listened to yesterday the Triathlon Mockery podcast, and they were talking about allegedly a professional athlete at Challenge Roth has utilised one of these, a Garmin Varia radar. This one's a camera as well, not just the radar and light, in order to see when drafting motorbikes are coming up, or official motorbikes are coming up. Now in my use of this, I find it most of the time picks up motorbikes, but not all the time on the road. I've never used it in a race because it is quite big and heavy, and I don't intend to. I don't condone those, condone those sorts of behaviours. But what on earth? As if people are using those to actually cheat in races. That is unreal. Hope they get called out for that. Anyway, I'm gonna cock my leg over this bike and get this second half of this loop done, and then we'll head down to the south loop. Liz will be annoyed today because I'm going to park in East Bridgewood, West Bridgewood Garden Centre. She loves garden centres, but she's not here. Nothing on the agenda really intensity wise, just zone 2. I feel like not 100% to be honest in terms of like freshness, so I'm just going to ride round and just focus on all those things I'm focusing on. I hate vlogging in the car, right? I'm always a fan of getting out of the car and showing some scenery, etc. But check that out. I've just got sopping wet through and it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon. I don't need many excuses at the minute with how I'm feeling, so I'm going to call it there for today. I've done the North Loop. I remember now what was my undoing. I did the event in 2021 as the full distance triathlon, and I blew up on the bike at 3.5 hours. There's about 1,500 feet of climbing on the total course, and on the North Loop there's about 800 feet, so like over half of it is in that like 20-mile segment. And I remember I rode the South Loop fairly strong, probably too strong, in between fairly strong, and then this North Loop on the climbs I did really push on. I was in a good group and I was riding, feeling good until you don't feel good, and it was after this loop that I really started fading and then completely blew up. So this is a good sense check for me now. When I come onto this loop, although the fastest way to ride is to surge up the climb and push on, you've got Oxton Bank, which is the one only real proper climb for 2 or 3 minutes, and then you go down into Southwall, and whereas the half distance turns right and goes back towards home pier point, the full turns left out of Southwall and then goes a bit further that way, and then there's a long drag. It's only maybe 1% or so, but it was a headwind today, and I think it was a headwind that day, and it was probably 10 minutes or so of not climbing but draggy, not moving very fast and pushing on a bit. So I just need to bear that in mind on the day that I need to save myself for this and save myself for the South Loop after this. So it's all like conserving, isn't it? So yeah, not a complete write. I've done an hour at about 240 watts. I felt okay. I don't have that zap, but I probably could have done another hour or two, but I don't feel like I want to today. I feel like I've picked up training relatively soon after Challenge Roth and it's going well, and I just don't need to put myself like getting wet and cold and just tempt fate too much, I don't think. I'm also going to change my shoes to drive home in because that would also be tempting fate too much with my driving. Anyway, so I'm going to end today's video there. I'm disappointed as well. Louis Dunn was supposed to be joining me today. Louis is hopefully doing Outlaw full as well, but we'll catch up with him another day, I'm sure. So thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please do hit the subscribe button down below. T-minus 1 week until Outlaw half Holcomb, and I will see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock.